Senor, what's up? Howdy folks, Matt here with Golf Course. Mama Nina, hey, come here. Lo siento, senor. Mama, hey. Matt here, Gulf Coast Fit, here in the Atitlan Underground. Tierra Atitlan's brand new premier training facility. Pretty stoked about it. Just shared a lower body and core kind of a mobility warm-up sequence or routine using only a bench in the upright position to mimic a chair. And so now I want to bust out an upper body and still a little bit of trunk work, mobility, warm-up, flexibility, whatever you want to call it, a sequence or a routine to do that would be good to do as a standalone, but also to prep for an upper body lifting session, be it a push, a pull, or an all-encompassing upper body lifting session. So I want to run through a handful of chair or bench drills that'll help you get prepped and ready to perform your best when you're hitting the weight room for an upper body day. All right, so we're going to sit down in our chair. Nice. All right, I'm going to start with some gentle trunk rotations, and then every rep will take the rotation just a little bit bigger, increase the range of motion just slightly. So I'm not starting with a very big twist, real gentle, and you see that I'm using the outside of my thigh, and I'm tugging on the back of the chair a little bit. Now, with everything we do, I want to place an emphasis on getting the most out of this for the intention of preparing for an upper body lifting routine. So to do so, I'm not just thinking about twisting my trunk here. Oh, I got some nice back poppins in there. I'm thinking about protracting my front shoulder blade while retracting my back shoulder blade. Starting to mobilize my scapulas. This is a good opportunity to get some protraction in the front shoulder and some retraction in the back scapula. See me looking behind. I think you'll get more out of it if you're looking the direction you're twisting. Protraction and retraction and the control of those two joint actions. Whether you're doing an upper body push or pull exercise or entire push or pull routine, very important to be able to protract and retract effectively. Let's get a couple more. Nice. All right, so we're going to stand up. We're going to spin around, and we're going to use the top of the back of the chair. Regardless of how tall the back of your chair is, it's going to work. We're going to create some traction now, not only in our spine, but in our pec minor, our lats, a little bit of triceps and rear delts, potentially even a little bit of abdominals. So we've got hands on top of the chair or bench. We're going to shimmy our tailbones on back until we feel some lengthening, some traction, going all the way down, radiating down our trunk. And I'm going to drop my chest. I'm going to allow gravity to bring my chest downward, which helps me open the shoulders up a little bit more, lengthen the lats a little bit more, and also stretch the pec minor and obliques and serratus in the anterior. So let's start to move around a little bit. Just shimmying, shaking the hips side to side, bending and extending the knees, small little torso rotations, twisting the shoulders, twisting the trunk, all while letting gravity drop my body down towards the ground. So not only am I dropping towards the ground, but I'm actively pulling away or pulling backwards a little bit, almost like you're hanging from a pull-up bar. So we're extending the spine by dropping down and creating traction by pulling back with your hips. Now when you twist from left to right and you look under one armpit or the other, You feel an emphasis on one side of your trunk, specifically your triceps, posterior delts, and your lats. The latissimus dorsi going down, big meaty part of your back muscles. A couple more each way. Find what you need now. Always be exploring. Always try to find small movements that help you facilitate a lot of lengthening, stretching sensation in which muscles you need it most. So you're always paying attention here. All right, nice. Excellent. So now we're going to bring it to the ground. And we're going to stay on our feet. But just to show you a different way to use your chair, I'm going to come to the back of the chair. I could stay on the front side of the chair, but I'm going to move to the back because I just want to show you a different way to use your chair. So now we're going to focus on primarily some thoracic spine twisting, thoracic rotation, and a lot of scapular protractions. More protraction again. I'm standing perpendicular to the chair, the bench. I'm going to take my outside hand, which is my left hand right now, put it on the bench. I'm going to start to drop down towards the ground. And as I drop, my body automatically starts to twist. I'm letting gravity do the work here. It's protracting and wrapping my scapula around my ribs to the front, which helps me stretch my traps and my rhomboids in between my scapulas. You might not be able to see it, but I've got my other hand on my knee here for a little support. I'm going to look up over my shoulder at the ceiling. Voila. Look up over the ceiling to help facilitate some more scapular protraction. Now the top shoulder, I'm going to start to pull back. Now I've got it on my hip towards my butt. I'm retracting that scapula. With every breath, drop a little more, twist a little more. Back a little more. All right, come on up out of there. Spin around. Same thing, opposite side. Hand on the bench. Starting to drop down. Slowly, 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 slowly. All right, I feel a great deal of protraction in my bottom scapula, wrapping around my ribs. With every breath, I'm thinking about inhaling, inflating, and expanding the area, the muscles or region where I feel the most tension and the biggest stretch, the biggest pull on my muscles and my connective tissue and my fascia. And so, for me, that's right in the thick of my lats right now. So I'm thinking about breathing into my lats and then exhaling and dropping into it a little more. Pulling my top shoulder back now. So retracting and pulling back with the top shoulder blade. Protracting, allowing gravity to protract the bottom shoulder blade. One more big breath here. All right, come on up, nice and easy. Excellent. Woo, that feels good. All right, I'm going to make my way down to the floor. I'm going to have my knees on the ground. I'm going to have my outside hand, my right hand on the ground. I'm going to put my forearm, my palms facing down, forearm, and about half my bicep on the bench. So get down the level you need to have your bicep touching. And already from here, what we're focusing on is your anterior deltoids, a little bit of biceps, and the pectorals. So pec major and minor. At the same time here, drop down towards the ground and allow gravity to do the work here. Drop down, and as the bench pulls your arm back a little bit, you feel a great big stretch. I'm sure you'll feel a great big stretch in your pecs and your your front anterior deltoids. And it doesn't take much. You don't have to go far. And we're not trying to drop all the way to the ground. We're not going down as far as possible. Just stop when you feel a great big stretch across the front here. Front delts, insertion of your pecs. And what we're going to do, now that we've got this tension, is shift back and shift forward. So we don't need a lot of stress and pressure on your shoulder joint to do a good job of getting the pec stretch and shoulder stretch we're looking for. As you extend your arm overhead by shifting backwards, you'll feel some traction in your pec minor. And as you shift forward and your elbow kind of goes down closer to the side of your body on your upper arm, you're focusing a little bit more on the shoulder joint, the anterior shoulder. So I like this transition just with a gentle shift, hips going back and hips going forward, all while letting gravity pull me down a little bit. It's kind of like a doorway stretch. The old school pec stretch where you stand in between a doorway and put your hands on both sides, and then you shift forward through the door to facilitate a pec shoulder bicep stretch. Very similar, but I think this is a little bit more dynamic, and the angle is much different, and you can play with the angle a lot more on this. I'm going to swing around the other way. Let's make sure that we first simply drop down and find the first stretch, the first best stretch you've got. You don't need to attempt to go as far down as possible. If you're like this, then you probably did not keep your chest and shoulders level, squared up toward the ground. Just drop, 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 and you find it sooner than later. That's a good thing to find the stretch you're looking for sooner than later. Take a couple big breaths here. Send the air to your pec. Inhale, inflate, expand. Maybe when you exhale, you drop down another millimeter or centimeter. Now let's start that shift from back to front, back, front. We'll go back and forth several times here. Stay curious. Explore your angle, explore your pressure, explore where you're sending your breath, where you're inhaling, inflating, and expanding. Depending on who you are, how you train, what your life is like, what kind of work you put your body through. You might feel this more in the pecs, more in the shoulders, or more in the biceps. Depends on who you are, what you're doing in your life, and how you're executing this drill. So one more back and forth. All right, nice. So again, that's very similar to like a doorway stretch, door frame stretch, but I think that you've got more options to customize this, especially since it's unilateral. All right, let's sit back down on our bench. And what we're actually going to do, we're sitting down, and whether you're in a chair or bench, as long as you're in a sturdy wooden or metal chair, you can do this regardless of the seat back height. We're going to shimmy up a little bit. We're going to lean back. Oh, no, I'm going to put my feet down so I don't flip over. We're going to lean back and put the seat back of your chair right towards the bottom of your scapulas and your thoracic spine. We're opening up and extending the thoracic spine, kind of like when you lay on a foam roller. Let's go ahead and let the neck hang back, head hang back. Give yourself a nice neck stretch here. It might not be comfortable. Because we're not used to extending and opening up like this. What we're going to do is take our fingertips, look like we're strangling ourselves. Grip the sides of your throat and slide downward. Grip and slide. Clench and slide. What you're going to notice is that it becomes more and more comfortable to let your head hang back Works very well to sync your breath up. Exhale as you slide the grip down, your fingers down the sides of your throat, and hang your head back a little bit more. About 3 more. Tell you what, I'm going to get 3 more again. With every single rep, I feel it loosen up. I feel my neck, range of motion increase. Okay. Use my hands to bring my head back up. I'll tell you what, that initial position, just tilting my head back, it was very restricted. And from swiping, gripping, breathing, and relaxing, again, let gravity do the work, pulling your head down and back. That helped me lengthen out my neck muscles quite a bit. Levator, scapula, you've got a lot of neck muscles that are good to train, but we don't realize how tight they are. Mainly because we don't address mobilizing them. All right, we're going to come back up into that position we were in. We focused on the neck. Now we're going to focus on the anterior delt. So we're going to lean back a little bit. You don't need to hang your head back all the way, but you can. Hang the head back a little bit. And we're going to do some big snow angel type movements here. Again, letting gravity pull our arms down and back. I like to inhale as my arms go overhead. Exhale as the arms come down to my hips. Now it might not look like I'm doing much here, but just letting gravity pull my arms down as I make this snow angel movement. Getting a lot of popping, snapping, and a lot of stretching in the anterior delts, biceps, and some pecs. As I'm breathing big, I feel it stretching the abdominals, the anterior trunk. One more. Ooh. Now on my bench, I can anchor my feet down. You're in jeopardy of flipping your chair over. Figure it out, all right? You're an adult, you're smart. Anchor your feet, wedge your feet. Switch what apparatus you're using. Use the back of the couch. Use the back of the counter, or the edge of the counter. Or figure out how to use your chair. So, we gotta be dynamic, we've got to adapt, we've got to be creative. Half the battle and half the fun. Alright, what we're gonna do now is come back down. And we're going to focus a little bit more on the triceps now. This does a great job of hitting the lats, stretching the rear delts, and even the serratus anterior, but we're doing it specifically for the triceps, especially the triceps. I'll do this one side at a time, so I'm down here on the ground, hands and knees. I've got my tricep and elbow up on the bench. I'm going to scoot over to the side of the bench a little bit. That helps my head get out of the way. I'm going to drop down. And then I'm going to extend and flex my elbow, which when you extend and flex your elbow, you're lengthening and shortening your triceps on the back of your arm. So I've got my body weight and gravity working together to apply the perfect amount of tension. We are extending the shoulder joint overhead. This is also very useful for overhead shoulder mobility, but this flexion and extension of our elbow is specifically to help stretch the triceps. You can play with the angle a little bit. For example, if I swing my hips to the left, it stretches my triceps just slightly differently. You can rotate your chest one way or another. You'll find a slightly different tricep stretch in that manner. Little micro adjustments that help you find what you need. This is the best spot right here for me. See, I've got my hips kind of swinging the opposite direction. I elevated my head a little bit. I'm flexing my spine a little bit. Not only do I feel the best tricep stretch here so far, but I feel a great stretch down my latissimus dorsi. Lat muscles going down the side of the body. All right, come on there, nice and easy on the shoulder joint. Let's switch sides. This will be our last stretch here. Elbow and tricep on the bench. Torso and gravity working together. Start to bend and extend your elbow. Breathe into your tricep. Think about inhaling, inflating and expanding the posterior delt / tricep area of your elevated arm. You can start to shimmy and move the hips, swaying a little bit side to side. And I'm going to keep the elbow flexion and extension going. Rotate the shoulders and torso a little bit, just a little bit, from left to right, finding what I need. I'm going to take this same position I did on the other side. There it is. And now, I'm going to kind of hold this position where I feel it the best. I'm going to get a couple more fist pumps behind my head here. All right, come on up. Shake out the arms a little bit. Shimmy, shake, little twist and shout. All right, so using just a bench or a chair, did a nice simple routine that's very effective for stretching out, mostly dynamic stretching. It's kind of static stretching, we're moving a lot, but we were never really just holding something for minutes on end. And I prefer stretching in motion before a workout, especially a resistance training workout. But we stretch the pecs, we stretch the anterior delts, we stretch the biceps, stretch the triceps, the lats, the scapular protractors and retractors, a little bit of trunk action there. So now your upper body lifting day will be much safer, much more effective. You'll perform better, you'll feel better, you'll get better gains. Or if it's a rest day, an off day, a recovery day, doing something like this routine, couple it with the other video for lower body in the chair, bench. It's a great recovery day routine. So standalone micro session for mobility is always a good idea. So stay strong. See you soon.